Strategy Sprint is back. That's right, this week-long virtual consulting project is back November 2nd to 8th. So it's a 1-week consulting experience where you get to serve a real client. You work in a small team, you get mentored and directed by a former McKinsey, Bain, or BCG consultant, and you just drive some really amazing impact. So why would you join Strategy Sprint? A couple of reasons. So number one, you get really great experience for your resume that makes you stand out in consulting applications or corporate strategy applications or otherwise. Number two, you build some amazing skills. And number three, you get to confirm if consulting is right for you before investing in the entire recruiting process, which can be 3 to 6 months or more. Join Strategy Sprint today at the link in this episode's show notes. Hope to see you on the project.
Hey, Strategy Simplified listeners. This is Eden, head of growth here at Management Consulted, and I am so excited to be today's podcast host. In today's episode, I interview Juliane Hoss, one of Management Consulted's case coaches, and we dive into her background, what she learned when she worked at Bain, how that informed her coaching style, so you can get a taste of what it would be like to work with her as your coach. Just so you know, if you're looking at an upcoming recruitment season, we have our Black Belt cohort and Super Prep cohorts closing here in the next little bit. If you are interested in working with a coach and having a support network and figuring out how to get from where you're at today to where you want to go, we would love to work with you. Be sure to check out the link in the show notes. All right, let's kick it off with a 30-second introduction of your background pre-MBB.
Great. Yeah, I'm actually a psychologist who turned MBB consultant. So I've always wanted to study psychology. My friend told me in high school, don't do that. You'll end up going crazy. And then at some point I was like, but we are all crazy. Let me study it. And I loved my studies, but I wanted to do something more on an organizational development side, not just focusing on the individual back then. So that's how I turned to do a master's in London at the London School of Economics and Management. And then I joined Bain & Company back in 2017. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And so you have 2 master's degrees, right, that you received before you went into consulting?
Yes, correct. So I did my 5 years of psychology, learned everything I wanted to learn about people. And then I was just really curious to take a route more also in management and leadership. And that's why I added the second master. And I also added it back then. I wanted to establish myself to live and work in South Africa, where I was for a year and I really loved it. So it added up quite nicely.
Wow, that's wonderful. So what are 1 to 2 insights that you can extract for our folks with similar backgrounds that also want to break into MBB? And what can they do to set themselves apart in the application process?
Really own it as something that is special, that brings a different perspective, that helps you to think creative about the solutions, about the questions that the clients bring to you, and also own it as something that makes you stand out in how you build the rapport and how you engage the interviewer. Because what I often find when I coach also, people nearly mention it as an apology, like, I'm not an economics major. I don't have an MBA, sorry. I'm actually from a different background. And that's where the problem lies for me, is that they think it's holding them back rather than understanding that there's a very good reason that MBBs have a lot of economic or management students, but not only. They love that diversity in our approach, in our way of thinking, in our way of interacting. So it's something that is your strength. So own that.
That's awesome. I see that every day when I'm talking to candidates that they are looking for a way to show that they have a lot of diversity in their profile and how do they stand out if they don't come from a management background. So I appreciate that insight. So looking back to when you were recruiting, what is something that you would do differently to either save time or stress in the process?
Yeah. I would really try to be curious rather than anxious, because I started my career before Bain, but also at Bain for a very long time thinking, how can I prove myself here? How can I show people that I'm good enough? What will happen if someone notices today or tomorrow that actually I'm not? What if today everything falls together like a house of cards that I've been trying to build, which that's how I saw my career. And I think that just gave me a lot of stress, but I think it also it also affected my performance. I think I could have even been better and enjoyed it much more if I had told myself, you know what? Try to be curious here. Try to just really give your best and then trust that your best is good enough. And that's something I had to learn over the years. And I'm still in stressful situations when I enter a client call with a challenging client. And that for me is similar to an interview. And it still feels that way. So, and then before the call, I just tell myself, go in, give your best, and be curious what you can learn about the project. Be curious what you can learn about the case and the interviewer, rather than thinking, what can I demonstrate here? I did practice quite a lot. For a couple of weeks, I did a lot of cases with buddies. It was important to me back then to get into an MBB, and I would do that again. But I would enjoy it more, and I would do it more with curiosity rather than with that anxious mind. So that's the main thing I would change.
I love that. I think maybe we should tag everything now with be curious instead of anxious, or like some kind of a mix there. And that would be awesome. All right. So moving forward through your career, after you left Bain, what are some of the top skills and tools that you feel like you gained from your consulting experience, and how have they helped you in your current role?
I have to admit, actually, I never really believed that consulting gives you these superior skills. I was so skeptical. Honestly, I think I was the most skeptical management consultant ever. I was like, what is this? What are we doing? What are we even learning? I came here to be a great consultant, understand the world better, understand businesses better. And here I am, and I felt like I'm not gaining anything. And honestly, I felt like that for a really long time. And then what happened was, many years out of university, must have been 5 years. Yeah. I re-engaged with a friend who actually finished psychology with me. And she was working as in an in-house consulting, but more on a cultural change in-house consulting role for one of the major global tech companies. And they were doing the remote policies and international policies. And she was a little bit stuck. So I was like, you know what? I'm already around. Let's sit together and look at it. And she was telling me the other day, she's like, do you understand that I'm still using that very same PowerPoint slide that you created in an hour? And I'm not sure if I'm more upset that you did that in an hour or more grateful that you did that in an hour. And what I realized is that it's things I thought is simple and everyone does that I actually learned. And first and foremost, for me, it's like starting with the objective, always asking myself, okay, what am I working towards? What is expected of you here? And bringing in that empathy to really understand what it is that your client or your direct boss needs in that specific situation. And that for me is life-changing. I always say you will identify someone who's out of an MBB that they will not start the task if we are not all clear about the objective. Second, for me, it's really the structure. So I built a framework for her. I mean, I didn't solve everything, put in all information, but I built the framework. So I synthesized everything she had been finding out, built a framework that she's still using today and feeding in whatever she finds out. And for me, then the third is really being super, super, super top down. And that's also something I've noticed where my friends who don't have that background sometimes even frustrate the people they work with because they brainstorm together and struggle to understand, okay, at which level is this person? What is the most important communication they need and what is backed up? So those are the three things that I feel I've learned and I'm still using every day.
That's amazing. When I started working with Management Consulted, they were training me on the same thing. And I would like to say to everyone, it is the biggest paradigm shift that you will ever have. And it will completely change everything you do from now on. You can take command of a room in an instant when you are able to think and talk in that manner. So that's
you just got to be careful, because my friend said she sometimes she spots herself thinking when she has a chat with her mom on the phone, like, could you be more top down with this story? So it's a professional skill.
Yeah, we have to take off that consultant hat after hours, for sure.
We do.
If we want to maintain healthy friendships.
We really have to.
That's great. Awesome. Okay, well, let's move into talking about coaching. A lot of times when I'm talking to candidates I offer every candidate a free consultation to figure out how we can best support them. And I tell a lot of our candidates that they need to be working with you, by the way, because I absolutely love you and your coaching methods. So I want to make sure that they all know what your coaching method is. So how do you help clients prepare for interviews in all of the world's top consulting firms? You work with a lot of our international candidates, not just in the US. And also, what is the process you run your clients through to prepare?
So definitely. So I think we all use the same process. First, understand what the interview is about, then do the cases, understand a little bit better, and then really identify where you need to double click on. So I think the journey is the same we're using. But I think my process and what candidates could be a right fit for me is I combine the kind of more consulting case skills that you need, the technical skills, with feeling ready as a person, like the psychological preparedness that you need for the interview. So that's my strength of bringing the two together. So when we look at the case, for me also, I always do a diagnostic case, really understanding how far is the candidate already, where do we need to double click on. And for me, it's very important to understand where are points of improvements. And then I give them the targeted plan to say, practice this until the next session. Because what's important for me is that I don't say, you need to get better at this, but to say, do 1, 2, 3, so that you can cover that point better. Because even in all the teams that I'm managing, my standard is always to say, tell them how to build the house. Don't tell them how you want the house to look at the end of the day. So give that clear guidance. But what we often forget, and that's incredibly important, is I also try to identify where are the strengths of that candidate. What do they spike on? What stands out? Because you'll never be hired for your points of improvements. Yes, you have to iron them out, but you'll be hired for what you shine with. And that's very important that we also identify that. And then on the emotional or psychological side, what I've noticed is very, very important is that really the candidates feel, yes, I'm ready for this interview. So building that confidence. And what I've noticed is that a lot of candidates have self-doubt as they go through the interview. And not only is that uncomfortable, but it distracts you from the case. So these nagging thoughts, especially when you think it's not going so well. And keep in mind that a lot of interviewers test you on purpose. They stress you on purpose, and then you hold yourself back. So it's very important that we prepare sentences, how you pull yourself up in those moments and say, I'm focusing back on the case. Also, I do a lot of personal fit because I also interview a lot now. So I know when I interview you, I actually always ask myself, do I want to work with this person from tomorrow? So the fit is key, being ready for that. And last, what we shouldn't forget, I also help the candidates think through, how do you create an amazing experience for the interviewer? Because we often forget that the interviewer is also a person, wants to remember this interview as enjoyable. And they will remember it as enjoyable if there was a great feeling, a great rapport, not just by the framework. We've heard so many frameworks. You often stand out more through the connection you create with the interviewer. So I prepare candidates for that as well, bringing those two sides together, really.
I love that. And I'll just throw in an observation for you, for our listeners. When I've seen you give cases to candidates, either in live calls or whatnot, I have noticed a trend that you provide for them, which is, you have this moment where you're wearing your interviewer hat, and then you take off the interviewer hat and you put on your coach hat. And it really delineates okay, we're in case mode and we're in interview mode, and then now we're in mentoring mode. And it really helps to create a very clear delineation between what it is that we're doing in this moment. So I really appreciate that. And I often refer to that because I feel like it's a really phenomenal way to go back and forth in the middle of a session.
Are you preparing for a case interview and need some last-minute help? Maybe you have a final round interview coming up in just a few days, or a big round of interviews this week. Whatever it is, at this stage of the game, there's only one thing that you can do to improve your chances of landing an offer, and that's expert out loud practice. Lucky for you, we have solutions. We have an amazing team of 25 McKinsey, Bain, and BCG coaches who are the world's foremost experts on acing the case interview, and they have availability to get you interview ready soon. You can purchase just 1 hour of coaching. You can purchase a 4-hour package or go whole hog with our 8-hour Black Belt program, which not only includes the coaching, but a lot of amazing digital resources and drills and so much more. You can schedule your one-on-one Zoom session for as soon as 24 hours after purchase. So jump in today at the links in this episode's show notes. Oh, and by the way, if you're at a management consulted partner university, see your MC account for discounts on all of our coaching packages. All right, let's get back into the show.
Now that you are on the other side of the table, you are now coaching and moving candidates through the process. What's another insight that you would have? And if you could throw in a little bit about like how to best prepare your story with coffee chats or networking or whatnot, that would be really phenomenal.
So an insight I've gained over the years, also being more senior in consulting and interviewing myself, is that you really actually want to see that the person's approach to work is what stands out. And often when you're the candidate, you think you need to shine in terms of, I know it already. I got all of these insights. I know the fancy business terms. I have the best ideas. And what I know now from the other side is that we all know that no one out of university has it all, knows it all, has it all figured out. So we test much more for the way you work, the humility you also apply in trying to really understand the case. Asking questions is so important because that shows that you're trying to understand it better rather than trying to prove that you know it all already. And really working through in a way that gives me as the interviewer the feeling, wow, this person will be a team player. They want to work together with me. They want to be on my team rather than they want to shine and make, feel like they can just fish compliments every day. So I think there is a shift in how I transitioned over the years that I realized what we bring to the table is really our approach, our interest, our curiosity, and our willingness to grow, and really being very, very honest with how we approach the case, the things we need to clarify, and then the insights we get together as a team. That is what matters, and not that we have it all figured out. And this shift, I wish I had known back then. And I think that is also very important for candidates. And then they also focus much more with a growth mindset on how can I get better, rather than having to feel like I'm already the best candidate for this company. That shift for me, I really wish I had known.
Wonderful. Can you give me an example of a candidate that you have coached into an offer?
Yeah, I still remember that. Okay, that was actually a funny candidate because, like, he came and he didn't even greet me, and he just is like, for the last, I don't know, it's like maybe he said like it was longer than a year. He was like, I've dedicated 8 hours a week to casing interview, and it was crazy how he kind of knew the whole technical toolkit. However, there was this gap at bringing it together in an interesting way. He was speaking in a very monotonous voice. I felt like, he's not even greeting me. He doesn't even ask me from where I'm dialing him. It's fine, I'm his coach. But I was like, if I was the interviewer, I would have really felt like he doesn't see me. And also I felt like there was this gap in a little bit of really trying to feel into what I'm trying to assess. Yeah. And then I realized he doesn't need better technical skills. He needs to learn how to translate them into an exciting story. And I mean, that's our job. If we would just analyze business problems, we would be analysts. If we would just try to convince people, we would be in sales. But consulting is bringing both of that together. Analyze, get the insights, but then ask yourself, how do I take the client along the journey that they buy in and they are convinced and they will implement it? And that is the amazing skill set we learn. And we look for people that can bring both of that together. And that candidate actually got in, is working in the Netherlands at Bain. And he loves it, he enjoys it. But I think it was really good that he got me as a coach because we were able to close that gap together. Because he was even over-prepared with his case skills, like the actual technical skills. He needed to bring that to life.
Wow, that's such a wonderful story. I am so glad to hear of all of your success and just how much you are helping candidates navigate through this process. So tell me, how can our candidates work with you?
Yeah. So they can find me on the management consulting platform. And also what's great about management consultant is that you can also speak to the management consultant team and ask who of the coaches is best suited for me, because they know us very well and they understand what we bring to the table and who's the best fit for which candidate. So that's always an option. And obviously, if you check out the different programs, then you also get coaching combined with all of the tools and the resources. And I think that is very important that you have that both. But you'll find it also in the show notes.
Oh, that's right, because Japheth, our producer, is excellent. He's always good about adding that in there. So wonderful. Okay, well, let's move on. I so appreciate all of the information you shared with us today about your journey. I know you are very heavily involved in mental health initiatives, which I find really admirable. As a fun fact about you, I would love to hear what accomplishment you are most proud of in that area.
It's actually an accomplishment from this year. We started doing retreats. So my friend and I, we have a small farm in South Africa. So we use that for retreats. It's a friend also from Bain who's helping with the yoga, and then I do the meditation and the self-reflection and the growth. It's so beautiful, and we always go for the sunrise. And I actually had a board member from a consulting company with us there, and he watched the sunrise with me, and he's like, "How does that go together? Yeah, this go-getter, hard-working, always pushy person, and now we're sitting watching the sunrise." And I was like, yeah, those are the two sides of who I am. And it's beautiful, the retreats, the space that we create. I really, really love that.
Oh, I love that too. And I want to know when you're going to do that next, because I want to be there. I will fly from the US to join you.
Should come. No, we have two or three like every month. It's amazing.
Oh, that's great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for joining us today, Juliane. I so appreciate your time.
Me.
Yes, I so appreciate your time, and all of the support that you're providing our candidates is really wonderful. So I think this is a great place to end the call. So have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time.
Okay, and I'm looking forward to work with more candidates. It's an amazing opportunity as a start in the career for so many paths to take afterwards. So I'm really happy to help some candidates open that door.
That's great. Thanks so much.
Hey, Strategy Simplified. This is Japheth Master, your producer. Hope you're enjoying today's content. And before we wrap up the show, I've got Caleb Preston on to do another segment on success stories. So I'm really stoked about today's story that Caleb's going to share. It's going to give you an encouragement and hope, especially for those of you who might be looking at consulting and another industry, or maybe you're not even looking at consulting, but you're altogether looking outside of that industry for jobs. This is going to give you some good hope and motivation for that. All right. Caleb, first off, thanks for joining. Look forward to this little chat. And can you just dive right in and share a bit about who we're talking about today and the success they experienced?
I would love to. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here again, Japheth. I always love these segments. So yeah, I get to brag about the amazing people inside of our community and our program. So today I want to brag about Zach. So Zach came into our program. He had been going through an executive MBA program, and he originally was wanting to target management consulting roles. And so what he found, though, is as going through the recruitment process, he realized that ultimately consulting wasn't actually the right fit for him. And that is a decision that some of our black belts come to as they go through, that they think one thing coming in and they discover they're actually more aligned in a different direction going through the program. And so, but what's really cool is Zach was able to come be very active in a number of different community events. He tapped into our digital resource library. He did a lot of case prep and also fit prep going to recruitment cycle. But as he decided that, hey, I'm actually going to make a pivot, he decided to turn his sights on data strategy roles in the B2B SaaS space. And so I got a really cool message from him where he actually switched and pivoted and started targeting those roles and landed multiple offers from different B2B SaaS opportunities and was able to leverage our resources to not only land those offers, but also negotiate the best one for him. He said that what he learned within the Black Belt program and what he gained through the community was absolutely key for that pivot into those strategy roles. So really stoked for Zach, and it's fun to see how we've been able to support him. If it wasn't one direction, we helped him land in a different that's even more aligned with his future goals.
That's awesome, Caleb. Yeah, I think a lot of people discredit themselves because the opportunity doesn't look like they think it should or whatever. But honestly, a lot of what we teach is not only applicable to consulting, but a lot of parallel industries. So a lot of folks join our black belt program going into corporate strategy roles or even tech roles, and so we're happy to help them out with that. But Zach, huge congrats from our team. We're cheering you on. Congrats on this amazing opportunity, and look forward to following your journey here in the near future. Caleb, thank you for coming on. Is there any final word of wisdom, word of advice that you have for our listeners today before we let you go?
Yeah, I would just say that I've seen this theme and trend where what you learn, what you gain inside our community, first off, the network of people you get to meet are going amazing places. Like, that's huge. And then just the skills and the insight you gain, whether you end up landing a management consulting job or not, it's truly life-changing what people get through this program. So I just see that time and time again. So, and Zach's story just echoes that. So thanks for the chance to share today. I really always enjoy being on, Japheth.
Yeah, for sure. And last note here, like if anything in here is something you're interested in, please reach out. There's links in the show notes where you can contact our team. There's links to learn more about Black Belt and other programs. And we're always one email or phone call away. We try to be as accessible as possible. So send an email to team@managementconsulted.com and we'll get back to you shortly. So thank you for listening. So Caleb, once again, thanks for being on. And I'm looking forward to another segment very soon.
Hey, podcast listeners, thanks so much for joining today's episode. Juliane and I had a wonderful conversation, and I am so glad that we got a chance to connect and that you get to reap the benefits of it. So if you are looking to book a call with Juliane, you're more than welcome to do that, either through a paid single session, or you can join one of our coaching packages, Black Belt or Super Prep. And again, if you are looking for help on figuring out which option is best for you, feel free to book a call with me. I meet with podcast listeners all the time. It is my favorite thing when I hear that one of y'all has arrived in my Zoom room. And so definitely book a meeting with me. I'd love to connect with you and figure out how we can best support you. Be sure to leave a rating and a review wherever you listen to podcasts and join us for the next Strategy Simplified. Bye-bye.